Hello everybody and welcome to game 2 of the North Remembers team tournament that I went to a couple of weekends ago. If you haven't seen the intro video for the series, I suggest you go back and do so now, purely because I cover my list in a lot of detail there so that I don't have to do it at the start of every one of these individual reports. So I'm not going to go through the Bretonnia list in this video. Just go back and watch the intro quickly. I'll still be here when you come back. And if you've not seen game 1 yet, I suggest you go back and watch that as well. So you've not got any spoilers and you can keep things in the correct timeline. So moving into round 2, our team, we played against one of the teams that had unfortunately missed a player. So they only had 2 guys signed up as opposed to 3. So the chap that was running the tournament stepped in to fill the space on their team. And their team consisted of Dark Elves, Lizardmen and Empire. Now, as we, again, with a team, we had the highest comp score, or higher comp score than the other team. We got to pick the first matchup, so we went ahead and put our Warriors of Chaos player against the Empire, because we felt that was a pretty favourable matchup for us. There was lots of 1-up armour, he had metal magic. The Warriors list was built to grind, the Empire list didn't really have any staying power at all, so we thought that was really favourable for us. Their opponents then got to pick basically the next 2 matchups, which I don't really like actually. Picking the first matchup was actually bad because you only got to pick 1. Going second let you dictate 2 matchups, so it might be something that you need to look at in future versions of the pack, but it's fine. I got put up against the Lizardmen, and then Tomb Kings had to play Dark Elves, so they kind of got to have 2 favourable matchups. I think. I mean, I didn't really mind anyone going into this round. The Dark Elves, they had metal magic, so they scared me. So I wanted to avoid them if possible. But out of Empire or Lizardmen, I wasn't too worried. So the title for this battle report is Venusaur. Use Solar Beam attack, because there's some bastard dons that like to roll quite well in this game. I'm going to preface this now by saying that for whatever reason throughout this game I missed an awful lot of photos, so this is going to be a pretty short one. I'm going to fly through as quickly as I possibly can, because I've basically got a quarter of a game's pictures, so apologies in advance. I think I was just really frustrated with this game. I felt like the dice went against me throughout the game, not massively, like there was no particularly terrible rolls. I just felt that the odds were ever so slightly always against me in every roll. Like I felt like my opponents rolling to hit and wound with like the skink poisons were really above average. There's a lot of rolls where it was like 10 shots, needing 6s to poison, and then he'd get like 4 or 5 out of the 10, and then I'd have to make 5 or 6 saves of 3-up, and then the blessing save, and out of like 5 or 6 I'd lose like 4 or 5 knights. Just things like that were pretty consistent throughout the game. I don't want to lean on it too much because I think it's disrespectful to my opponent. I don't want to take anything away from how he played the game. I just felt really frustrated with how some of the dice went, and I think that, coupled with probably a bit of rustiness in doing regular battle reports, meant that I missed an awful lot of photos. So we'll just crack on and we'll get through what we can. So yeah, deployment, on the right hand side there I had the Pegasus, Paladin, the Mighty Yeoman, Peg Knights and the Treb, and then moving into the centre we've got the 3 Lancers deployed either side of the conveniently placed building right in the centre of the board, where the peasant bowmen were going to go. They got a pretty good vantage point from there. And the thing is, they've not really got many targets in this game. The only thing that really they can hurt is the skinks, and they can't really hit them. And then on the left hand side we've got the other unit of mounted yeomen and the other trebuchet. Looking at Lizardmen then, on the right hand side there's a unit of skink skirmishers with a skink priest in there. Then there's a unit of skink cohort with a scarvet attached on the side. 2 salamanders, the first bastard don, and yes, they will be called bastard dons for throughout this battle report. And then in the back there there's a unit of Saurus warriors. Moving into the centre of the table, my opponent had a unit of temple guard. There's an old blood that's on the front left hand corner, and then the Slann is sitting on the right. There's another skink cohort with Teto Echo in there, another Bastard Don in the top left, and then another unit of Skink Skirmishers with a Scarvet attached. So my opponent went ahead and did his Vanguard moves. Tetu Echo gives you D3 Vanguards. He of course rolled 3, Vanguarded this unit, the Salamanders and the cohort with the other Scarvet in there. Moving into Lizardman, sorry, not Lizardman turn 1, so my Vanguard's in response, so it's pushed them out of Yeoman a little bit far forward, hoping just to try and make a bit of a nuisance of them, but it was a pretty poor move on my part, really. The amount of poison javelin shots, I think they just get completely annihilated on the first turn. And then the Pegasus Knights just back up a little bit. I out-threat that cohort unit, so my plan is just to swing back a little bit, hopefully bait him into coming forward. Then the Peg Knights can charge that skink cohort, kill all the skinks, challenge out the Scarvet if I need to, and then hopefully just break and run them down, run that Scarvet down, because he's got a 1-up armor and a great weapon, I think. I can't remember what other equipment he had. So I'm not really going to deal with him other than getting like a lance in there and breaking him on combat res. He's not really going to die. So Lizardman turn 1, then he pushed the Salamanders forward, everything that shuffles around, and because my opponent is actually good at this game, he doesn't take the bait from the Pegasus Knights and just backs up out of my, I think it's either I need like 12 or I'm just out of charge range entirely. Yeah, so he didn't take the bait there, so again, smart play from my opponent. The Salamanders move up. The Salamanders are great in this matchup because the Bretonnian Knight Lancers are so long, they don't really need to roll much at all to get really strong hits on everything. So going into sort of magic and shooting, then I think the Mighty Yeoman on the right side get completely wiped out by one of the Bastiladons. I think then the other Bastiladon probably hits the bowman in the building and kills 4 of them. The Salamander then hits the big lance with all the characters in there. And I think I end up losing 3 knights. I don't want to go back and check the pictures, it's not really important, but I remember based on the amount of hits and wounds that were done, and then my armour and ward saves, I probably should have lost like 1. But again, I lost 3, and it's sort of the trend of how the game goes is where my supposedly good armour just really wasn't there this game. But nothing much else really happened, just some other pot shots here and there. So in response, there's Bretonnia turn 1, I go ahead and charge the Peg Knights into the Salamanders. I'm hoping just to do an awful lot of damage, break them, overrun, and then land in front of the Temple Guard unit. Hopefully they will bait in a charge. They can either overrun, I think they'd have to overrun because I think they had Frenzy from somewhere. I don't know if I'm misremembering that. I'm sure that unit had Frenzy, so I remember thinking if I can get them to charge, in front they have to overrun, and then I can get my 2 big lances into the Temple Guard, yeah, so kill the Old Blood, kill the Temple Guard, kill the Slann, basically get all the points and ride away with a pretty big win. So we're going to see how that one goes. And on this side we go ahead and we charge into the unit of Skink Skirmishers. Lined up in such a way that I can hit the Bastard Don in the back there, and I think I only need like an 11 to do so. Possibly even a 10. It's not that far, but yeah. So this is basically where I lost an awful lot of the photo. So this is probably like turn 3, possibly even turn 4. So what happens from the previous picture is we charge in, we kill all the skinks, no problem at all, and then we fail to overrun into the Bastard Don. I roll like a 3 or 4 inches, something absolutely pathetic. The Pegasus Knights go into the Salamanders and absolutely whiff. I think I possibly even lose combat, or it's a drawn combat because I take a wound on one of the Peg Knights, do absolutely nothing to the Salamanders, and then they of course hold. Then it goes into Lizardman turn, and the Cold One characters, the Old Blood needs like an 11 to get into this lance, and gets an 11, and then proceeds to crunch his way through the unit over a series of turns. coupled with the fiery convocation on that unit. And you'll notice there's a level 4 in there, so the unit's got MR2. So against the strength 4 fiery convocation, I've got a 3 up armor and a 4 up ward, and it basically doesn't matter, and the unit just gets shredded. On the right hand side, this was I think this is what probably tilted me the most in this game, which it's not really fair because it's not massively unlikely to happen, but the Scarvet needed again like a 10 or 11. It was pretty far to charge the Paladin on a Pegasus, makes it. I completely whiff and do no damage. He completely whiffs and does no damage, but he wins by the charge. I break from combat and get run down. And then a turn or two later, the same Scarvet gets charged, sorry. I charge him with the Lord on Pegasus, do no wounds. I take 1 wound in return, break from combat and get run down. So a damn Scarvet that's like barely over 100 points killed my Lord on Peg and my Paladin on Peg. And again, it's just things like that that kind of summed up this game and what made me frustrated. And I hope it didn't reflect too badly on my opponent, because it's not his fault. And I don't want to take anything away from how he played, because he piloted it's a good Lizardman list and he played it very well. So I don't want to take anything away, but it was just things like that throughout the game that really frustrated me. The combat in the middle of the table, the Pegasus Knights against the Salamanders. I just continue to whiff round after round. The one round where I do actually manage to do some wounds, get him to the point where he needs to roll Snake Eyes. He rolls Snake Eyes. But what it means is not only am I not killing the Salamanders either on my turn or his turn, which would be, of course, ideal, because then I can reform and charge elsewhere, but it's blocking my big unit with all the characters from doing absolutely anything this game. I can't wheel around the Pegasus Knights because of the building. So while that combat's going on, my Mega Lance with the Lord and the Paladins, it's just stuck there doing nothing. It's so frustrating. The unit on the left that failed to overrun into the Bastard Don, I think was charged by the Temple Guard, and I chose to flee. It did rally, it didn't run off the board. It then spends the rest of the game continually fail charges into the Bastillodon, where I only need like 9s and 10s, which is pretty, reliable to get on a Swift Stride unit, and they fail it like 4 or 5 times in a row. No, not 5, it would have been 4. So they fail it like 4 times in a row, which is just so frustrating, because there was plenty of opportunities where I could have charged into the Bastillodon's flank, kill it, and over into Teto Echo's unit, and again just net a whole load of points. And it was just, again, so frustrating. Things like that just constantly throughout the game. So moving to the last picture that I've got of this game. Again, apologies for the lack of photos. At one point, again, this is probably turn 3 or 4, the Saurus tried to charge the flank of the Pegasus Knights and failed it. So, one small silver lining there. It's not much of one, but there's a small one there. But again, it's just gumming everything up. I can't get the Pegasus Knights out of the way. I do eventually kill the Salamanders, but at the point where it's too little, too late. And the Pegasus Knights did eventually line up a flank charge into Teto Echo's unit. I think on like turn 6, the last turn of the game, where I could have charged into the flank of Tet's unit and just put all my attacks into Tet and killed him. And possibly, win combat, break and run the unit down, get some points. But then they failed that charge. So it's, again, just a series of things throughout the game going against me, which just added to me feeling a bit salty. So when the dust settled and all was said and done, I lost the game 17-3. And as a team, we lost the round overall 24-36. The matchup that we got to pick, the Warriors into Empire, we got a 20-0 win out of that, so we called that round well. But again, the way that the pairings worked, by picking second, you actually got to choose 2 matchups as opposed to 1. We lost those 2 matchups. The Dark Elves got a pretty crushing 19-1 win against our Tomb King player, which was quite. The game looked quite close until the final couple of turns, when it just absolutely swung massively towards the Dark Elves, and they got a big win. But despite the score or the loss in this round, because we got a pretty good win, a pretty solid win in the first round, we're actually sitting in, I think, second place going into day 2. This is a 2-day tournament, 2 games on each day. So I was pretty happy with how we did. All things considered, the disappointing thing for us as a team is one of our players had to drop out overnight to go back home and deal with a family emergency. So going into day 2, our 3-man team was down to 2, which pretty much meant we had no chance of winning, because the way it was going to work is the team that we played against with the spare player would play against the other spare player who was playing against the other team of 2. They'd play the matchup like basically on our behalf, and the scores would be logged, but the minimum points you could get was 10. So like if it went 20-0 against the player that was playing for us, we'd get 10 points, but you could get potentially 20. So because we knew we couldn't push for any big wins, like getting like 3 20-0s or 3 big wins, we knew we were pretty much out of the running, because like the max points we could get out of a round was 50, which is very unlikely anyway. But other teams could push for for getting 60, or even getting just 50 across the 3 of them getting average wins. We knew if we had any chance of getting anywhere on the second day, we had to push for 20-0s in both games, which it changes your decisions and how games tend to go, and you've got to push for those big wins all the time. So we're happy with where we were, but we knew we were out of the running for winning the thing. And sort of to add insult to the injury, our first game on the second day, we were against probably the best team there, and certainly the team that everyone thought was favourites to win, and the team that had the hardest lists according to the comp scores. So we knew we were in for a tough start to the second day, but we'll move on to that one next. As always, guys, thank you for watching. You know what to do with comments in the box below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.